Welcome to Legs Like Mine, the podcast, where we explore lipedema through the eyes of a patient, break down the latest research, and share real life stories of living with this often misunderstood condition. I'm Susan O'Hara from legslikemine.com. I'm a lipedema patient, author, and advocate, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're newly diagnosed or deep into your journey, this podcast is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to Legs Like Mine, the podcast. It's been a minute, but I'm back and I'm really excited to be here with you again for 2026. This podcast is all about life with lipedema, confidence, visibility, and navigating life in a body that people just love to comment on. And I'm really grateful that you're here. If you've been listening for a while and waiting for the next episode, thanks for sticking with me. And if you're new, welcome. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. So today I want to talk about something that's honestly a super big deal. And if you have lipedema, suspect you might, love someone who does, or you're just trying to understand what's going on with your body, this matters. Because there's a new document out that's basically saying we need to stop treating lipedema like it's a mystery, like it's just obesity, like it's just somebody not trying hard enough. There's an international medical consensus paper called the Lipedema World Alliance Delphi consensus-based position paper on the definition and management of lipedema. And it came out of the 2023 Lipedema World Congress in Potsdam. I'm going to talk a little bit about that for just a second and go off a script. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the president of the nonprofit American Lipedema Association, where we represent all of the patients in the United States, and we do advocacy, education, community, and raise awareness about lipedema. Before we formed the ALA, though, I was doing Legs Like Mine. Now, this is in my 6th year of doing Legs Like Mine, in fact. And I went to the Lipedema World Congress in Potsdam, Germany back in 2023. And it was their very first one. And then I went again to the World Congress in Rome just a few months ago, and was able to take the board members from the American Lipedema Association there. And this is a group of medical professionals that have been studying, treating, diagnosing, working with lipedema patients now for years and years and years. The leading surgeons, the leading researchers in the world were there. And they have worked together to form this amazing Lipedema World Alliance, where they're coming up with things like this Global Consensus Document, which will be the foundation of how people are treated in the world. Right now, there's such a disparity in different countries and whether or not folks can get a diagnosis, get treated, whatever. The United States, of course, is not special in that arena. It depends on what insurance you have, what your doctor's experience is, whether or not you even have care. Like I live in Oklahoma City and I cannot get surgery or really proper treatment in Oklahoma City. I have a therapist who was willing and able to become trained about lipedema specifically, but she was really a lymphedema therapist. So in our own country, we have so many challenges in getting the diagnosis and stuff. So a paper like this, combined with the fact that we're actively watching the CDC website every single day to see if they have decided to implement the ICD-10 codes that Dr. Herbst has proposed. We've been on all of the calls where she's proposed and sent letters of support, sent emails, texts, everything of support. And now we're just waiting for those medical codes to be in place. And if you don't understand or don't have the history on ICD-10 codes for lipedema, I have another podcast that I recorded late last year in September that talks all about why those are important. So anyway, this document's super important. It's a long time coming. They went through a really, really rigorous process with many, many, many physicians, researchers, patient advocacy groups to come up with a first round of this consensus document. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to break it down in plain language, because you know how medical stuff can be. It's long, it's complicated, and sometimes it wasn't written for us, although I am pretty into reading the medical research now and watch a website called PubMed every single day for new research that's come out about lipedema, and it's booming. Anyway, I'm going to make this document for us so that you can understand why it's important and some of the things that these doctors are saying. So part one, what is this document and why does it hit different? So this document is important, one, because how it was created. So this wasn't just one doctor writing his or her opinion. This is something called the Delphi study. And what that means is the doctors and researchers and advocates collected and they refined expert opinions across multiple rounds until they reached an agreement. So in this case, lipedema experts from 19 countries came together and they agreed on 59 statements about what lipedema is and how it should be managed. This matters because for years, one of the biggest problems in lipedema has been this. One doctor says one thing, another doctor says the opposite, and the patient kind of gets stuck in the middle. And honestly, there are so many different ways that doctors do surgery, for example, or have requirements for conservative care, and it's really inconsistent. So we need some consistency so patients aren't walking around like totally confused about what is right, what should we be doing, blah, 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 right? So this paper is trying to give the world a standard foundation for how to understand lipedema, first of all, and then how to manage it, right? For me, this is the big point. When the medical world gets on the same page, it is harder to dismiss us as patients, right? It's harder to gaslight people. It's harder to misdiagnose. It's harder to blame everything on willpower. And of course, we know now that obesity is being diagnosed as a disease, and I believe it, man, I really do. And I 100% believe that lipedema is not based on willpower. So, just to share that with you all, this is a totally judgment-free zone. I'm a patient, right? I've had bariatric surgery twice already, and I'm on a GLP-1 drug myself. That's a choice for you to make. But it is not about willpower. So I'm just going to say this. The core definition of lipedema is huge. The most important statement they agreed to is simple and it's powerful. Lipedema is a chronic disease. Chronic means it's not a phase, it's not temporary, and it's not just gaining weight. It's a real lasting medical condition that needs actual management. And the paper emphasizes the classic core presentation, which is symmetrical, bilateral enlargement of subcutaneous fat in the extremities with pain and or discomfort. So to translate that, it's both legs, both arms kind of situation for a lot of people. It's not random, it's not patchy, it's not just one side. And it comes with pain or discomfort. It's not just appearance changes. And that's one of the key factors in diagnosing lipedema is it is called the painful fat syndrome for a reason. It hurts, right? Then there's another important point. Lipedema is disproportionate expansion of fat in the extremities compared to the torso. So if you're someone who's like, my upper body changes, but my legs don't respond the same way when I diet and exercise, or I lose a lot of weight in my face and my stomach, but my legs just stay the same, this document right here is validating that experience. And here's one of the most recognizable signs. Lipedema typically spares the hands and feet. And that's where you get that kind of cuffing look at the ankle or wrist. It's one of those clues that helps distinguish lipedema from other conditions. Now, don't get me wrong, not all lipedema patients have cuffing. And for me, it's really hard to tell too, because for years I have been, I also am overweight. And also there's so much inflammation in our bodies that our hands and feet do get puffy, but they don't have like pain. Mine aren't, there definitely aren't nodules in there, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But, so that cuffing, whenever you see folks who have like pretty dramatic cuffs, just know, I mean, that's like a typical presentation of lipedema, but it's not the only presentation of lipedema, right? So part 3, the symptom list that people need to hear. This document really goes into great detail about the different symptoms that folks can see. It's not just about fat distribution. And it names symptoms that many of us have, and we've been describing for years, like pain and tenderness, including sensitivity to pressure or touch. If you follow me on social media, you may recall that I had a campaign where I took a picture of my legs because I believe that sharing pictures of your legs when you have lipedema is so helpful to other people to realize that they're not alone. They're not a freak of nature. Oh, that looks like me, legs like mine, right? I have this campaign where I say, does it hurt when the cat walks across your legs? And I have so many people when I do that campaign tell me, oh my gosh, yeah, it does. I can't stand it when the cat sits on my lap or whatever. So pain and tenderness, right? Heaviness and swelling feelings in affected areas. And for me, this does change. But man, if I'm out walking or like, let's say I'm at Disney World or something, you just feel like you're walking through cement a lot of times, right? Or if you're in the North, cement. Also, easy bruising without remembering trauma. And I always have called mine mystery bruises. And for me too, the bruises tend to last a lot longer than what it seems like other people's bruises do too. Um, so that's some of the main three symptoms. It matters though. It's way more than I don't like how my legs look. It's not vanity for sure. And it's definitely not body image, though it does impact our body image for sure. It's pain, it's function, it affects the way that we walk, and eventually will tear up our joints, right? It's daily life. And I'm going to pause here and I'm going to say this clearly. If you've been living with pain in your legs, heaviness, bruising, tenderness, and people have told you that it's normal or it's in your head, the document that we're talking about is proof that real medical experts are acknowledging those symptoms on a global basis, like the planet Earth now acknowledges the fact that there is a disease called lipedema. And so the next part about this document is it clearly says that lipedema is not obesity. And it's important enough that I want you to hear it as its own point. Obesity is a frequently observed concomitant disease and lipedema. So it's a comorbidity, right? Yep, they happen together. That's what it means. But it also states that it's not an obesity related comorbidity. That's huge. So many people with lipedema get treated like, if you would just diet harder, exercise harder, be more disciplined, this would go away. But this paper is saying that the tissues involved in lipedema behave differently. Pathology, right? They even say that BMI has limited value for distinguishing lipedema from obesity and suggest waist to height ratio can be more useful for assessing obesity risk. So it's not ignore weight, it's stop oversimplifying our bodies, right? And we're going to talk about this a lot more, but I feel like this document is actually pretty responsible. Weight itself is a pretty taboo topic in the lipedema world. And it's not saying, hey, every ounce of fat on your body is lipedema and it's all not your fault. It is saying it's your disease, it's yours to own. Do what you can to keep yourself healthy. But lipedema is lipedema. And whether you lose weight or have surgery or whatever, it's not going to change the pathology, the genetics of the actual disease, right? So anyway, part 5 of this document is about diagnosis and why so many of us get missed. And this is where the document becomes really heartbreakingly real. It says diagnosis relies on medical history, a physical exam, and ruling out other conditions. And currently, no imaging, blood test, genetic test, or measurement tool is officially approved to verify the diagnosis. This is talked about online all the time, friends. That, what blood test do I need? Do not depend on a blood test to diagnose lipedema. Your doctor can use the blood test to rule out other stuff, but there is no indicator on a blood test that says, yep, this is lipedema. So that's why you feel like it's so hard to prove. That's why, right? The diagnosis is mostly clinical. That's why you need providers who actually understand lipedema and they're not just guessing or judging. They also add that the typical staging system doesn't necessarily reflect symptom severity, and it has really limited relevance for management. So what that means is you can be an early stage and your legs or arms can still be small and maybe not have that many nodules or whatever, but you can still be suffering. Like it still hurts whether you're a stage 1 or a stage 4, right? You can look fine, whatever that means, and still be in pain. And so the outside doesn't always match the inside, right? That's pretty important because I think a lot of us, like I'm a late stage 3. Sometimes in my own head, even I might look at someone and say, I wish I would kill to be that stage 1, if I had a stage 1, I would wear shorts still or whatever. But that doesn't mean they're not hurting, right? So even like the later stage folks, if you're looking, not judgmentally, jealously, I guess, at the earlier stage folks, just know that they're still getting the easy bruising. They're still hurting, right? So part 6, treatment and what they recommend and what they straight up shut down. So the paper emphasized that the treatments focus on alleviating symptoms and preventing or delaying progression. That matters because there is not a magic cure being promised here, which I actually respect. It keeps it honest. They highlight the need for a multidisciplinary approach. So that means you need medical providers, you need PT, you need nutrition support and mental health support. And don't feel bad about it. Everybody in the United States and in the world probably needs some level of mental health care, right? But having a condition where you look different in a world that has such weird beauty standards can really mess with your brain, right? So don't feel bad whenever you feel the need to get mental health support. Anyway, they also say that conservative management should include lifestyle and nutrition optimization, compression therapy, and exercise. And I am going to be responsible about this. For those of us who have gone on saying it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, great. It's not your fault. You didn't cause your genetics, but do not ignore the fact that nutrition is a big part of who our physical bodies are. So I'm not going to continue down the path of saying, oh, just eat whatever you want. It's not your fault. No, really, there is no diet in the world where sugar is a necessary thing. It causes so much inflammation for people. Handle yourself responsibly. You can't say that you're treating yourself conservatively if all you're doing is wearing compression and, you're doing all the pumps and all this and that, but you're still eating a bunch of crap. That's not optimizing your body. Like, give yourself a fighting chance and quit eating so much sugar, right? I'm Susan. I'm talking to myself, right? So if you really want to reduce symptoms and improve the quality of your life, it's on you. It sucks, I know. Lifestyle and nutrition optimization. And nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to do it all the time. Everybody has their own approach. And that's what's pretty cool about it is you do figure out what causes inflammation in your body and what may not bother other people. So anyway, they highlight self-management as the meaningful tool because we know we are not only our own best advocates, but we're literally the only person who is around our bodies 24/7. Your doctor sees you maybe for 15 minutes if you're lucky when you go into your primary care physician these days. They're going to tell you what's on the papers, but they cannot do it for you. Every human being, whether they want to take care of themselves or not, has that onus on themselves to take care of yourself. So anyway, here's the key one. I'm going to go back to the paper now. There is no evidence for effectiveness of any pharmacological interventions in treating lipedema. So just know this paper has been in the works now for a couple of years. And it's a warning sign, though, for anybody that's trying to sell lipedema pills, quick fixes, miracle supplement. I do believe I've seen one study that's come out at least so far on the GLP-1 drugs and the impact on symptoms of lipedema. I know, as part of the American Lipedema Association, that there are studies that are being talked about on all of these drugs, tirzepatide, semaglutide, all those, right? And I believe that someday this statement might change. But for now, there is no evidence for effectiveness of any pharmacological interventions in treating lipedema. And the reason I'm saying that is if you're online, like all of us are, and you see people talking about creams or pills that reverse lipedema, it is straight up BS. It hasn't been proven. I guarantee you, I read PubMed every single day. And the day that they come out and say, hey, we found a cure for lipedema with a drug, I will be touting that all over the place. But if you have some herbal person, I hate these people who they respond to my posts all the time and they're like, Dr. JoJo's lipedema pills cured my lipedema with 1 pill a day. That is complete BS. And I report them on Facebook or whatever, right? So anyway, then they talk about surgery. This document says that lipedema reduction surgery can be considered when it could positively impact symptoms. They also emphasize, though, that surgery should only be done by providers with extensive knowledge in lipedema management, not just a regular old cosmetic liposuction provider. And there's been lots of debate about do they need to be board certified plastic surgeon? Well, here's one. They need to be an experienced surgeon, but they also need to have trained with somebody who has done a lot of lipedema surgeries because it is special. You need special techniques. You need understanding of how to spare the lymphatic system. They need to know the options. Different surgeons have different techniques, different anesthesia types, different tools. They are reinforcing in this document, though, that this is a medical thing. It's specialized and it's not a trend. And so if you're a person who is working to have surgery and you're looking around for a surgeon, one of your top questions should be, how many of these have you done? Show me the results of some of your lipedema patients, long-term results too, like, 3, 5, 10 years out, right? And if you have a surgeon who says, I've never done these before, or I didn't train with an experienced lipedema surgeon, I'm just telling you, I personally would move on, because I've seen some ladies who have had their legs absolutely botched and chopped up by people who did not know what they were doing, irreversibly too, right? So anyway, part 7, why this matters for us emotionally. Yep, it's a medical document, right? But for me, it is way more than that. This paper validates the thing that we've been saying. It impacts the quality of our life and our mental health to have lipedema. It even says in the document that missed or delayed diagnosis negatively affects symptom burden, mental well-being, and quality of life. Now, we all know that. We've been sharing on social media for a long time, like, hey, delayed diagnosis causes problems. The Lipedema Foundation a couple of years ago, they put out a patient survey and talked about the average time of delays in diagnosis. And I think it was like 17 years. Somebody fact check me on that. But that delay in diagnosis is one of the reasons why I founded the American Lipedema Association. It's so that more doctors will recognize it and get someone on the path to getting compression on their body, right? That's one of the main things. And also there's this emotional toll when you're like, what is wrong with me? I've been to the gym, I'm doing all the things, and my legs are hurting, to just have that diagnosis and know that you have a thing and that there's a pathway that you're supposed to take to treat it, whether it's conservative or surgical, that's up to you, right? But just to know that can help your mental health so much, because you stop wondering what the heck is wrong with you, So anyway, the missed or delayed diagnosis negatively affects symptom burden, mental well-being, and quality of life. So if you're thinking about the years that you personally spent confused, blaming yourself, like me, wondering if I had cancer, trying diet after diet, bariatric surgery, whatever, and feeling judged in the doctor's office, it's not a clinical issue. It is a women's health issue. It's dignity. It's a quality of life issue. And that's why a global consensus document written by many, many doctors with specialties who know this disease inside and out matters. Consensus documents like this can be used for provider education, which you better believe I'm going to be using it for provider education. Policy and insurance arguments, oh yeah. Improved guidelines and better research standards, right? So the way that they wrote this document, if you're really into it, they have each one of the consensus statements, right? And the way they did it is this percentage of people who participated in the Delphi study, this is the percentage of people who agree on it as a statement now. And then there's also a little line that says, this is a percentage of people that agree we need more research on this particular topic. In most cases, all of these statements say, yeah, we need more research. But in the topics that I've been telling you about is a large percentage of agreement, like more than 90% of the physicians and advocates and therapists, et cetera, agree on the statements as written, right? So they can use this document as the foundation to go to different research organizations, including the Lipedema Foundation, who funds a lot of this research, right? And say, hey, we know that we need research in this particular area, and it's a good guideline, like a roadmap for what they should be researching, right? So anyway, final highlights that I want to talk to you about with this document is 5 things. So 1, lipedema is a chronic disease. It's real. It's not made up. Pain is a central feature. It's not optional. It's not just soreness. It's pain, right? It is not obesity. It can coexist with obesity and you can manage the obesity, but it's not caused by it. Diagnosis is still clinical. There is no official blood test yet, which explains the delays in diagnoses, right? Treatment is a multidisciplinary approach: lifestyle, compression, exercise, self-management, and in some cases, surgery. But the point is symptom relief and slowing progression, right? That's all they can do right now. Someday we'll be talking about the end of this podcast whenever we're saying, oh, they found a cure for it and it's just one shot. Wouldn't that be awesome? But right now, treatment is a lot of it self-driven. A doctor can oversee it or whatever, but a lot of times people like me at this point who my surgeon is off in California and I'm on my own to do my self-management. It is all on you, patient. Lifestyle, compression, exercise, self-management, swimming for me, right? Anyway, I'm going to link the document below. It was published in Nature, the journal, and then it went up to PubMed, where I've been watching every single day for this particular document to come out. I'm going to link to you the full text version where you can download it, read it if you want to. And I'm going to keep talking about what I'm learning as I dig in this document deeper and deeper and deeper. If you would like for me to cover a specific section like treatment, diagnosis, or how to advocate with doctors, drop me a message, legslikemine@gmail.com, or leave a comment here. I'm super glad to be back. I'm happy for the new year, and I will talk to you next time. I think that's everything. I'd love for you to read the document yourself and tell me what you think if you're so inclined to read it's not super medical, is what I'm going to say. It's written in pretty plain language, and I appreciate that very much because I think this is a document that literally today I'm going to be uploading into my patient portal on all of my medical sites, right? Anyway, okay, so I know that one of the sections I have not talked about at all is inflammation. And there is a section in this document that I want to do some reading on and talk about how inflammation may be one of the key components of the formation of lipedema and the progression of lipedema. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. Alrighty, I will see you all later. Happy New Year. Have a great day. And thanks for listening. Bye. If this episode spoke to you, or if you've ever felt unheard on your lipedema journey, please know this. You are not alone. We're in this together, and we're not stopping here. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Susan O'Hara from legslikemine.com. Be kind to yourself and keep going. The Legs Like Mine podcast and content posted by Legs Like Mine and Susan O'Hara is presented solely for general, informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast or website is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, therapist, or other qualified professional, and it's certainly not intended as a substitute for diagnosis or treatment.